and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
My lovely and sick wife, Stacey.
Yes.
She's been very under the weather. She was under the weather the other night during our...
Way under.
Yeah, during the first episode of this week. Mm-hmm. But she's even more so under the second episode of the week. I'm the only one in the house that's not entirely sick.
Right.
I'm sick in special time periods. Like when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel very good. Very late at night, I don't feel very good from the sick stuff. But other than that, I've been pretty safe. It may be the wildfire smoke that's got you.
Maybe. Yeah, you don't have the cough like the rest of us.
No. Maybe it's because I haven't bought into the conspiracy.
Oh, you think that's what it is?
Maybe. You guys read too much of that.
Too much down the rabbit hole.
Listen, man. You know, the very gall of anyone to question any conspiracy theory in 2023.
Right.
When every conspiracy theory from the past, I don't know, 8 years has pretty much proven somewhat true.
Right. More so than not, right?
If we did like a Rotten Tomato meter on validity of conspiracy theories,
Right.
right now, I would say most critics would approve that they usually turn out to be, you know...
There's some truth.
There is. But people like to take truths and put other little truths into it, right? So all I'm saying, I've read the same thing everybody else has. You know, I've watched videos, which can be doctored and nursed, but, you know, who knows? All I know is that New York City at 1:00 in the afternoon looked like Armageddon.
It really did.
It was so cool. Like, except for like the cancer breath, you know, everything else was cool.
If this was like a time before internet and advanced technology,
there'd
people
be
would be
legends.
in the end times right now.
There'd be so many stories. Can you imagine the poetry and stuff we could get out of this? They'd all think it was done.
The artwork and such.
And what do you think? I mean, is it not done? I mean, the only thing we have yet to see is dead grandma showing up on the front door and stuff to be total biblical. I mean, if you really wanted to make some money right now, I would say that preaching's the way to go.
Probably.
I mean, yeah.
Do you think cardboard sign guy is out?
I don't know, man. I think he died from the smoke. But, you know, really, it's been crazy. I mean, just seeing that, literally, I saw this thing from, I believe it was Yankee Stadium, and it was in the afternoon. It was like, holy crap. That's just, and you know, we're used to seeing that everywhere else. Somebody put up the conspiracy theory of one that I had written down already. So I felt kind of embarrassed when I seen people poking fun of this guy.
Right.
But the first day that I started seeing all the pictures of the smoke, okay, because these fires have been going on for weeks. Like, show before last, I was like, hey, our friends in Canada, sorry about your state, you know,
Right.
country, province,
Area, whatever.
Yeah. So, you know, just being nice. And it's still going, you know. So the really weird thing is somebody put up this video of all these wildfires starting at the same time, like like the radar or whatever.
Right.
I don't know what it was. It was the morning weather. Who knows?
Like, yeah.
It looked like
An aerial view.
Yeah, it looked like they all started at the same time. It may have been somebody showing, like, this is where the wildfires are.
Right.
And
right.
they put all the animations on there, and they all started at the same time.
Or, I mean, it could have been one of those controlled burn things they do when they're trying to contain a wildfire.
I mean,
It could be anything.
Or it could be exactly what this guy thought.
It could be.
You know, they could be synced up on a special bat channel and be like, all right, let's start them all at the same time, boys. Are you guys ready? A bunch of Sasquatch.
That's what it is.
Yeah. They're like, you know what? Let's do it.
A bunch of Sasquatch called down the lightning to strike all at the same time in these specific spots.
You know, if it's calling down lightning, we may have to second guess it. But I wrote down when I seen all these things, because I keep my notebook of weird thoughts and prophecy. As weird as that sounds, that's totally what it is. But I wrote down, we're seeing all the smoke. Why are we not seeing any videos of the fire? It wasn't 24 hours, and I started seeing that same thing people putting it out, but they're putting it out with a lot of other stuff to it. It wasn't just a thought. Mine was like a Jack Handy,
like a shower thought kind of thing.
The Saturday Night Live thing,
Right.
What was that called? The Jack, like the funny thing, like you'll do wonderful today, that thing.
I don't remember.
But it was just a random thought that the reason I wrote that one down was to bring it up to you.
Right.
And then I started seeing these things. But the hit piece, there was a hit piece that you showed me earlier today. And oh boy, howdy, did it upset me. Because as I started off talking here about who are you to question a conspiracy theory? I get it, man. There's some crazy ones out there. There really is. But as this show progresses, I think we'll see there's a lot more crazy in the actual world than people want to give it credit for.
Oh, yeah.
But the wild thing is there was an article from Rolling Stone. And I don't even want to give these cats credit.
Right.
It took two people to write this like really crappy article. And the article was doing all the normal tropes, right? It was like, they talk about UFOs and this and that. I mean, like they went through this whole thing. And it was talking about this conspiracy theory about these wildfires and about some of the stuff that could be behind it. And whoever it is totally like subscribes to this guy's, stuff.
Right.
Because it was like saying so-and-so on their Telegram or whatever it's called.
Right. Like they picked on one specific person that had a couple of different, like they named a bunch of conspiracy theories, but as far as naming people specifically, they like picked on this one person and they were like, this conspiracy theorist says this. And,
it was really weird.
And they poked fun at it.
It was like he
they
slept
had a
with
vendetta.
Like he
against
slept
him.
with their sister or something.
Yeah, it was it was kind of odd because they really just put his name. But then like on some of the crazier conspiracy, like they did a list of like all the different conspiracies for the fires. And as you went down, they got a little more ridiculous. And the more ridiculous ones, they didn't point out who said those. They just mentioned them.
No.
But on the ones that may possibly have a little truth to them, they were like, this guy said this and put a video out and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it like this. A couple of years ago, people were getting banned off of social media sites for saying that a certain sickness could have been because of a certain place.
Right.
And they wouldn't be taken down for that now, considering that long-standing investigations point out the same thing.
Right.
And, it's funny because everybody forgets about what happened, about somebody pointing this out. And it should never be against the law or, it should never really be. You can make fun of who you want. It is a free country.
Right.
But it should never be canceling or because of somebody putting out an opinion.
Well, look at Area 51, right? Long time ago.
Oh yeah.
That was not even acknowledged.
Right.
And so what you had was a bit of truth that there was an Area 51, and then all of these speculations around it, they got added into the conspiracy theory. You know, they had ships there and alien body, which actually might be true now, but ships and alien bodies, and they did this and they do that, and it got to be so fantastical that the whole thing sounded ridiculous. But it turns out that one little beginning nugget, Area 51, that was true.
Yeah, it was.
So it's like you take this little true bit and you pile on a bunch of ridiculous claims, and then everybody's like, oh, conspiracy theory.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that one thing isn't true.
And they know what they're doing. Like a lot of the stuff, and we'll get into this as the show goes, but a lot of the things that have been happening this week since our last show, yes, this is the second show in a week. You're not, your ears are not deceiving you.
Right.
When it's on, it's on, whatever motivation there may be out there, it's found its way into us. But, it's crazy because the government, or I don't even want to say it like that. I was chastising somebody the other day for saying it like that. So certain organizations that may operate just outside of our government or supported by, or, they're up there.
Right.
Have definitely had disinformation, and this is documented. There's been disinformation campaigns since the beginning of UFO saga. Roswell, they got into it right off the bat. You know, they changed the narrative very quickly and threw it out being a balloon and crash test dummies and all these things that they changed over and over and over. And, you know, then we got like the famous ones like swamp gas and all this stuff. But the biggest thing they did was getting into mass media, getting into, you know, your movies, your books, your TV shows, even, you know, late night comedy, whatever. It was to the point of the crazies being the ones who were seeing things. And, you know, even when you portray someone as believing this stuff as being loony and they did this in the last few years too, with some of these conspiracy theories that we were talking about that have now since been proven true.
Right.
Because it went against the narrative that they were trying to throw down our throats and brainwash us into being, you know, compliant to.
Right.
You know, so we don't buck the system, you know, and it all plays into politics. Now, why would they do that? Well, they want their opinion to be right. Maybe they believe. And by I'm not pointing out a certain specific political party. I'm pointing out political parties in general.
Right. People that think they're above the law.
So whoever wants you to believe their narrative
right.
are going to selective edit. They're going to only show you the pieces that apply to their argument. And that's why you need to go out and do your damnedest to find the full interview, to read the entire article.
Oh, all the way to the bottom, because the important stuff, they hide that down the bottom of the article.
To look in articles you're reading for a hyperlink that may point out and take you to the original article. You know, find the origin of these things and read that, listen to it, you know, take the time, because it's amazing when you have everything in the proper context.
Yeah. Pay attention to creative wording too.
Yeah.
The government's really good at that with their creative wording and
absolutely
how they say things without really saying, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, my birthday's coming up.
Yes, it is.
I'm pretty excited. I'm going to have a vacation too.
You are.
It's been a long time coming.
And what are we going to do on your vacation?
Well, before my vacation, next week, I get to go see Duran Duran, which the 10-year-old me is incredibly excited.
Hey, you got some good tickets too.
Yeah, I'm right up in the
right
front.
near the front.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited.
I'm trying to decide who's going to cry more, you or Raja.
Me. I'm going to bawl. I mean, this is a big deal to me.
Well, it's about time.
It's a big deal. And it's been a long time coming.
It just never worked out before, did it?
Never worked out. And this is my end all be all favorite band of all time, to the point that when a very young me, you know, they were my idols, my friends, my inspiration. When before I ever had a band and I played like I was in a band and I lip synced with my buddies, I was that. You know, we did full concerts, man. And it was so much fun, you know. I mean, and it's kind of funny because they progressed and grew over the years and had a lot of different styles come and go. And it was almost like there was little parts that would always kind of mimic, like even their Lost era. It's like kind of chimed in with mine, you know. It was like their experimental stuff. Yep. You know, coming back around, and I don't know. I'm just very excited about this, and the playlist they've been playing in most of the shows is pretty exciting. But then on my birthday, I got a bunch of wrestling planned. Oh yeah. A bunch of, you know, paranormal type stuff. And, you know, so what we're going to do, well, we're going to go to the Cincinnati Reds game, but to see the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
You know, it's Atlanta at Cincinnati. I can't help where I live now.
I'd rather go to Cincinnati than Atlanta, I think.
Well,
it's closer.
Yeah, you can go to I was going to say, I'd rather go
Sorry, I said clarify that. It's much closer.
So we're going to go to that and watch the Braves beat the Reds. And then we're going to, I'm going to watch incredible wrestling pay-per-view called Forbidden Door. I'm just very excited. It's because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling, so that's a crossover thing. We're going to go to some haunts.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have some fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say where on those yet because that's actually up in the air, but there's definitely a couple I have on my mind that we're going to go and kind of do like the mound thing again with a couple of mounds I haven't been to. Going to go back to Serpent Mound.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the paranormal part of it, there's a few of them that I've been looking at that is, day tour wise and that kind of thing. And something maybe a little bit more than that. And then there's going to be a whole lot of rest.
Yes, that's what you need.
A whole lot of rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to cleanse the brain. I really need the ocean, but I can't get there.
Oh, maybe we'll play a video game or two.
I feel landlocked. Oh yeah, we're going to play some video games. We're going to play some video games. So if you guys pay attention, you'll notice that the other night sort of started off the show a little differently, and I did more of a monologue type thing. I always have something at the first of the show. Well, the reason for that was because poor Stacey was coughing a lung up.
It wasn't supposed to be a monologue at first.
Yeah, so it turned into a monologue.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always have stuff for the first of the show, stuff that's either in my crawl or whatever. So we're going to give this thing a go again. I want to believe. Ever since the 1990s, these 4 words have become somewhat of a pop culture iconic phrase, obviously associated with the TV show that made it popular, The X-Files. The X-Files was a science fiction drama. It was created by Chris Carter. The series aired from September of 1993 to May of 2002. It had an original run of 9 seasons, 202 episodes. A short 10th season had 6 episodes. It ran January to February of 2016. It's actually really good. Following the rated success of that revival, they even returned for an 11th season of 10 episodes in 2018. In addition to the TV series, they had 2 feature films, 1998's The X-Files and 2008's The X-Files, I Want to Believe. Needless to say, the adventures of FBI agents or special agents, Mulder and Scully, were pretty popular. We even had a cat named Mulder. It was our first black cat. It revolved around the FBI's agents and investigating the X-Files, marginalized unsolved cases involving paranormal phenomena. Mulder was a skilled criminal profiler, a supernaturalist, conspiracy theorist who believed in the existence of the paranormal, whereas Scully was the medical doctor and a skeptic, been assigned to scientifically analyze Mulder's discoveries. And I mean, this was something that was exciting, had that monster of the week type feel for a very long time, and, a looser long-term thing behind it. It was inspired by some of our favorite shows, such as Twin Peaks, all-time favorite of ours, Twilight Zone, Tales from the Dark Side, and one that we absolutely, positively love, Kolchak, the Night Stalker. If you haven't seen that, you need to go to the Peacock streaming app because we recently found out it was on there. And holy cow, if you want to go relive the early 70s in pure love and pop cultureness of what it is, then you need to go check out Kolchak. If you haven't ever checked it out, then you'll be very happy that you did. Trust me, it's worth it. So with all that said, what a week it has been for the I Want to Believe crowd. Potentially the single biggest leak of all time. Hell, arguably the single biggest story of all time, if it all pans out. With the former intelligence officer going on the record to divulge knowledge that, get ready here, another 4 words, We are not alone. I named our last show that simply because it was the biggest big statement ever at the time. We are not alone. But in the days since the announcement, there's been a lot of excitement. Loads of questions. And yes, many, 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 many trolls. Enough to make me question. Are they scared that we are not alone? It's funny to me because it's always the so-called experts who are the first to speak up on the validity of these claims. Now, don't get me wrong. You can absolutely have aviation experts, military experts, crash experts, night vision experts, psychologists, psychiatrists, etc. experts. And I totally get it, asking for their opinions, right? We should ask for their opinions. We should have their opinions front and center. But just like in the paranormal field, we are working in a field consisting mostly of theories and opinions. And I love to listen to every possible theory. Stacey loves to listen to all the possible theories. We like the theories because it's the only way we ever can progress on any of the fields of the so-called woo. We share ideas. We go to conventions, and the whole point of that originally was to share ideas in a place that's not covered by the normal mainstream media. Experiences, investigative techniques, what worked, what didn't work. No matter what that is, it's an open forum. We share opinions, we share theories. Nobody grows inside of an echo chamber of their own opinions. Even healthy debates are incredibly positive to have in furthering an idea. What I dislike and what I'm on about is taking someone like me and referring to me as an expert on anything in the paranormal or ufology field or anything of the bizarre nature. And, because, look, man, I grew up on this stuff. I grew up in this stuff. UFO discussions were something had in my household for one reason or another. It's some of the things I'll never get out of my head. And I wish I could. There have been unexplained incidents, paranormal encounters, and not to mention, hey, I wrote a book. Been featured on a national TV show, which is the equivalent of being an extra zombie on The Walking Dead. Had documentaries. A TV pilot that's been reimagined a few times. Podcast host for 13 some years here. But to be a subject matter expert, I would imagine we would need an agreed upon curriculum. And if that curriculum is the history of alleged and unconfirmed crashes, encounters, and first, second, or third hand accounts, then I guess there's absolutely a few of those people. And these few could give a great amount of collected knowledge to any discussion on the subject. However, what happens as soon as anyone presents some type of evidence or a wild claim? Well, the men in black all sit back at their poker table laughing at the success of their endless work and psyops to make everyone so skeptical that the paranoia sets in, and the possibility they're being duped prevents them from ever showing excitement, positivity, or support to someone who has absolutely demolished a long and storied career to come out with the truth. Because it can't possibly be the truth. They're trying to trick us, Jim. Remember, they tricked us that time in 2014, made us look like, fairy Nazis. In my opinion, to be able to be the one saying, I knew that band before they were signed, or the comic book source material was so much better. Ingrown toenail? Yeah, I got Indonesian billy goat gout, pal. You know those people. Let's just try to let it play out, man. Be a real legend. Show some support. Support that will encourage, I don't know, others with similar stories or possibly legitimate, hardcore, solid evidence to also come forward. The person with the dead alien in their chest freezer. It crashed out there in the field in 76. We passed it down twice now. Damned old thing, we're afraid to pull it out of the damn freezer, afraid what's going to happen to it. If it thaws out and just starts coming and wang banging us all over the place. We need these people to come forward without fear of being trolled from some bitter old, I've done this for 63 years. Who the hell you ever beat? Kind of crowd. For me, bring it on. The weirder, the better. It all just makes me feel better about my own experiences, to be honest with you, because you guys haven't even heard half of them. I have to kind of let things play out in the real world before I give them out. And that's also for the same fears. As for me, it's not the 4 words of we are not alone. It's not even the 4 words I want to believe. It's 5 words. I still want to believe. So if you're one of the ones throwing shade out there for no reason, why don't we form that shade in intelligent queries into, hey, I wonder if this happened or that happened. And it's healthier, instead of personal attacks or things like that. It's just so funny to me that the people in the field are the first ones to attack.
Intelligent queries? You're asking a lot.
I know.
Of the internet, I think.
I know. It's just sometimes it's exhausting.
It is. I agree.
The people that really should support you, it's either that they're low-key pissed off that it wasn't them.
Right. You got people that are either trying to discount what you're saying because they didn't say it, or they're trying to get in on what you're saying by,
right,
saying that they said it first at some point, or I don't know.
No, you do know. I mean,
it's so weird. It's like it's this weird competition when it's not.
Yeah, well, I got something out. Listen, I saved this earlier. This is kind of funny.
Okay.
I was on Reddit and under the aliens sub.
Of course.
Yeah. So it was by Zen Uru. And it was titled, I don't think a lot of you have realized. Let's say the dozens of credible officials, retired military, and so forth are correct. Let's assume the government has an intact alien spacecraft. These craft are beyond imagination. I won't go into it deeply here, but they can defy physics as we currently understand. So, let this sink in. The aliens, as far as we know, haven't tried to retrieve those crafts from us. They don't care that they just lost those craft. And they don't care we have them and are trying our damnedest to reverse engineer them. Sure, they're monitoring us. This is apparent to anyone who's been keeping attention on world events, especially with nuclear testing. Do you realize how fucking advanced they are? To the point where they don't care that their Lambo is in the hands of a bunch of chimpanzees? Holy fucking shit, dude. We are nothing.
Whenever you started reading that, I was picturing like us giving technology to a chimp or something and being like, let him play with it. What's he going to do?
So the first reply, this is where I laughed, from user Cereal Snacks.
Okay.
With an X. It's like me losing my flip-flops on a beach. I will get another pair from Walmart later. If some random crab is trying to reverse engineer them, I couldn't care less.
Wow.
Yeah. It's all about the crabs.
It is.
So I thought I would share that there. But, hey, man, we got a lot to get into. A lot has been happening, if you guys haven't noticed. And as long as there's not another, weird alien UFO 20-foot tall crash that happened somewhere.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of?
Not yet.
Here's Stacey Edwards and Paranormal News.
All right, so let's start with some more information from what David Grush said, the whistleblower. We did last episode, we talked about the first part of his interview that he did on News Nation. It was a very long interview, and they sort of cut it up into bits. And
yeah, now we know why it was 7 hours.
More information.
I questioned that last time.
Yeah. Now, during the first bit of the interview, he said that he learned the United States government possessed quite a number of different kinds of non-human vehicles. He claimed that plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers came to him. A lot of them he knew for his whole career, people that he trusted and were very well respected, that people would come to him and give him this information and tell him. He also found out that because of the security clearance of a lot of this information, a lot of it was not being told to Arrow. Now, Arrow is supposedly the people that are supposed to be investigating this stuff. But as you find out, as you read the articles about it, the people that are in Arrow don't have a high enough security clearance to talk about some of the things that these officials are talking about.
Yeah.
So they have a hard time getting the information they need to investigate. And
it should be like a temporary thing, we're going to give you the security clearance for 30 days that lets you be able to talk about what we're going to talk about, what you need to talk about, what's been reported to you. Something like that. This is how they circumvent it.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Grush decided that he was going to bring it public. He filed a complaint, and he decided once they passed all the whistleblower protections that, he wanted to get it out there. He wanted to get the information out there. He thought it was important because he realized that there were people involved with this that were misinforming lying basically to Congress to Arrow, to, everybody about what they know.
It's a lie.
So now, before he did this, he went through all the proper channels. He even went to the DOD, the Department of Defense, to get what he was going to say approved to be said, because even though he's not in the position he was in, they sign papers that, the
NDAs are still active.
Right. Now,
the rest of his life.
According to the Department of Defense, they said that the interview questions were approved for public release. But in the same letter, they also said, however, this approval does not include any photograph, picture, exhibit, caption, or other supplemental material. And they also said, of course, that what they always say, they don't endorse it or admit to any accuracy.
Right.
I thought it was interesting, though, that they did, number one, approve him to come out and say these things, but that they also felt they needed to say that they didn't approve anything else.
Yeah.
Which makes you think that there are things that are out there.
Right.
That could have been, leaked.
Absolutely. And the first thing I thought was it was, Trixie at the front desk when they called to ask, like, hello, Arrow. We did give approval for that, but we didn't say,
Right.
But
right.
I know that's not the case, but to the extent of, I'm sure they were scrambling because I'm sure they got, cursed out for approving anything.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, the reason I brought the thing up about Arrow is because a lot of people will be like, well, Arrow says that there's no credible evidence that,
that's what
that
they
this
are
is
saying.
Non-human. And that's their stance. Their stance is that there is no credible or verifiable evidence that they've seen.
Yeah.
So they're not lying, and that's the point to this. That's why you have to watch the wording.
Yeah.
Because Arrow's not lying. They haven't seen anything because they're being left out of the loop. They're not given the clearance. They're not being told this information. So they're basically useless in the whole investigation of this type.
Yeah.
So now, as the interviews went on, it was really interesting because it says multiple sources close to the matter have come forward to tell that Grush's core claims are accurate.
Yep.
Now, these individuals are either high-ranking intelligence officials, former intelligence officials, or individuals that this particular paper could verify were involved in U.S. government UAP efforts for 3 or more decades each. 2 of them have testified, including as recently as last year, to both Arrow and Congress. Now, they didn't want to give their identities up because they're obviously still under their NDAs. They couldn't say who they were, and there were things that they couldn't talk about, but they did at least come forward to say, hey, this guy's credible. What he's saying is essentially true. And they even gave some of their own little bits of information, which were really interesting. There's one source that spoke to them about the retrieved spacecraft say that in the possession of the U.S. government, they know of at least 12 to 15 craft.
That's amazing.
And they claim that every 5 years, they get 1 or 2 recovered for one reason or another, like either they land or they just crash. I think one of the informants said that occasionally the craft will be on the ground and it'll just be left. And they'll just go get it. I guess why whoever flew it there is off wandering, killing cows or whatever they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very strange, man. I mean, it's like leaving it. It's just like the little joke story a while ago I read, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, they just left it unoccupied.
Scary that they're leaving it there.
Another...
Maybe Earth is like the suicide forest for the aliens.
Oh, you think they're all here on a dare, aren't they?
They just fly here, you know. And,
and then they leave all their stuff.
Yeah.
A different contractor said that there were at least 4 morphologies, different structures. 6 were in good shape, 6 were not in good shape. They said that there have been high-level people, including generals, who have placed their hands on the craft.
Wow.
And this particular contractor said he has absolutely no reason to disbelieve what these people are telling him. One source described having seen 3 different kinds of craft, including one shaped like a triangle and one that looked like a chopped up helicopter with the front bubble of a Huey helicopter with the plastic windows sort of like a submarine. And I know we've seen...
Yeah, something similar.
Something similar to that where it looks like just a big bubbly front window and it's very oddly shaped. So all these sources said that they felt compelled to speak out publicly to validate Grush's claims because, you know...
Trolls.
Yeah, they didn't want... They feel like he's super credible. He's telling the truth, and they didn't want people to be treating him like he's crazy.
I mean, there's going to be those people. I watched a newscast earlier where somebody was talking, you know, to Leslie Keane on it, and the guy on there was just like,
"Wow, Leslie, I mean, I'm sure that was probably more of a generalization."
And I mean, just you know, trying to lead it a certain way, and just like, no,
right,
not it at all. These things are real,
right?
So
now, some of the sources even said that they kept the non-human spacecraft in different locations, including Area 51, and that they moved them around different facilities for research, and obviously so.
Well, wouldn't that be a shitty job? Like, you're the guy that's driving the 18-wheeler at 4 a.m.
Right.
And you just know there's a bunch of frozen dead aliens in the back. You know, just like every light you see in the sky, you're, you know, turning to crap. I mean,
that's not as bad as the Johnson alien that left the keys in the craft,
right?
While you were off, picking up the plants and odd fauna, and then you come back and it's gone.
Well, I mean,
like, what happened?
It's probably like some crazy ass human trap that they use. I mean, it's just like, how are we going to get into their base, sir? Oh, it's pretty easy. We've been doing it since 1930. Just leave it in the damn woods down there. You'll understand, Alien Johnson. You know, and because I mean, they're all of a sudden we're going, touch it. You touch it. Oh, look, there's hieroglyphs. Let's get in it. You know, I mean, they score.
I wonder if the hieroglyphs mean anything, or if they're just like, scratch that on there. They'll love that. It'll take them forever.
Yeah, they're pretty happy with that.
So because of all of this, and there's still more that's supposedly coming out. Like, I think they're still pushing more parts of the interview. So I'm sure there's going to be more information that we still haven't heard.
There's a lot more coming out, bud.
Yep.
There's a lot more coming out altogether.
But the House of Representatives have now come out and said they're going to hold a hearing on the whistleblower's UFO claims. They plan to investigate the claims that, you know, the U.S. government is harboring UFOs. And even James Comer, the Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, said the committee would hold a hearing into claims. And though they haven't, he claims he doesn't know anything about it, but they haven't set a specific date for this yet. But a source familiar with the matter said a date is expected to be announced in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that won't air publicly at all.
I bet it does, but I
think it
mean,
might?
yeah, I mean, it's still going to be just them sitting around harumphing. I mean,
Right. And letting him tell them everything that he
Yeah.
just said on TV.
right. And you know, maybe they grill him a little, but you know, that's good. I mean, that's good. You know, he can say by that point, he'll see what he hasn't been killed over.
Right.
And he can say more. You know, I read from some people that have been in intelligence for decades. And
Right.
just like a lot of the people that came to back him up there, you know, I think you said decades on their
Yeah.
experience each.
Yeah.
And some of those people were saying, look, he's being very careful on the way he says it. Even though he's got an approval to say this, there are certain things he can't say.
Right, because the DOD didn't clear it.
Right. He
I mean,
can't say it.
Right.
So there could be much more incredible parts to this he's not saying. And from what the scuttlebutt is right now, there's going to be a lot more of these people coming out soon with some incredible stories. And I dare say there's going to be some of the kind of leakage that is not approved
Right.
because people are going to get upset, right? They don't want
Right.
this to die down because we're on the way to disclosure. And I think it's forcing the hand a little bit, you
think
know. There's even been people that talked about in a political vein, you know, we're coming up on a re-election time, right? And elections in general. You know, some people were like, well, maybe if they were going to go through with this closing it, they were going to do a little bit, and then have a person come out and say, well, here we go.
Right, right.
Who knows? All I know is there is a lot more. There's a lot of crazy. There's a lot of things to address. There's a lot of things that haven't been even thought about talking about yet, like abductions.
Well, it seems to me the biggest naysayer thing, people that don't believe what he's saying or are questioning it, the biggest thing they can say is, well, he's not showing us any evidence, which we already know he can't,
Right.
because that was not cleared. He never said he didn't. I mean, he said that he didn't see this stuff personally, but that the people that told him all these stories are very credible.
And he knows without a doubt that it's
Right. Like
happening.
I feel like he's seen things.
I mean, people are thinking this is the people they work with at Hardee's.
Right.
And it's not. Just because Billy the Booger Eater, you know, might tell you that he banged, you know, a cheerleader at the school. It's not the same as a guy who actually his whole life is keeping secrets.
Right,
His
right.
whole entire existence is based on this. And I hear the people out there going, "Well, we know the government can't keep a secret." Bullshit. I mean, they've kept enough secrets to keep you on medicines.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's they've kept a lot of secrets until one person somewhere along the way comes out brave enough to say something.
Yeah.
If you go back to everyone in history, it's never because the government has come out and go, "Hey, guess what?" No, they might agree later on that they did something.
Right.
But yeah, the government can keep secrets. I think the best thing they've done, it's kind of like the whole devil thing, you know, make you believe he don't exist.
Right. That's the best thing he could ever do.
And it's the same thing with the government. It's almost like the drunken master type thing of the fighting style.
Right.
You know, well, this guy's going to be a pushover.
Right.
They're rope-a-doping us. And, you know, obviously these are highly intelligent people. They know psyops. They've got psyops that you're fucked over before you even know it.
Well, and you have to think that the security clearance you would need to be in on this program is so high. I think even when they were talking in the article about the levels of clearance and the reason Arrow doesn't know anything is because the number of people that have that security clearance, I mean, it's in the hundreds. It's
Yeah.
not large groups of people. I mean, you have to be very, very high up to even warrant being that,
Right. Then
level of security.
the accreditation that David has is incredible. And the levels he went through to put this out there as well is unprecedented.
When was the last time you saw a whistleblower come out and then people that he used to work with actually come out to back him up. Like,
This time.
I don't remember seeing a whistleblower where people were willing
We've never seen a whistleblower of this degree.
to risk their own career just to go, hey, he's telling the truth.
On
you
this
know?
subject matter, we've not seen one come out properly. We've seen people that were in these positions, in high positions, and seen some great things, but never one that went through the proper channels, you know, made sure that they had the platform, did all that stuff to come out with. And that, with all that, he's telling the truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's not a big shock that he's telling the truth. It shouldn't be a shock
No.
to anybody.
No.
I mean, the very fact that when people came out, when they said, well, these crafts are doing things that we can't do. I don't know what you thought it might have been.
Right.
You know, I don't know when they said that, even though they weren't saying it, they were saying it. And I don't know what you thought what did you think it was?
Right. Right.
If none of our enemies can do this stuff.
Right.
And they build our enemies up, by the way, a lot better than what they actually are. Most of our enemies are filled with teenagers that are terrified and want to go home, you know, because they're forced to be doing what they're doing. And
Right.
they a lot of them live in third world conditions in either one of the big two. You know, it's not quite as next level, you know, AI soldiers as people think.
Right. Right.
They're not going to be having these crafts that can do this. Listen, if they did, we would not be here. We would be singing a different national anthem already.
Right. Right.
So I think that the arms race really is the crash retrievals and trying to reverse engineer the flip flops.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot more on that coming up on the next episode.
Oh yeah,
So, 'cause
absolutely.
definitely more. It's very exciting.
It is. It's exciting
very
time.
exciting.
Very exciting time.
About the thing you mentioned earlier about the Vegas.
Oh my God.
With the alien. I know everybody's probably seen this because it's a hot topic right
Well,
now.
we put it out the second that we seen it come out. It was like, honestly, an hour, 2 hours after it first hit the Channel 8 News in Vegas.
Right. Well, now we have a little more information because Channel 8 News in Vegas, they actually had George Knapp on doing
Right.
because he's been investigating it for a couple of weeks.
Right.
Like the first report was just a quick news report about it, and this was him talking about his actual investigation. And so I'm just going to tell you the facts because I know you've probably heard about it, and it sounds fantastical. But supposedly this family in Las Vegas, just before midnight on April 30th, they saw bright fireball streak through the sky. Now that is absolutely 100% true. It was caught on a policeman's body cam. Like,
Yes.
you can see the bright light going through the sky. There's supposedly ring cam footage of something streaking through the sky and making a loud bang noise. And this is in the same neighborhood that I believe that these people live in.
Right.
Now, what happened was supposedly whatever this was landed in their backyard. There were some young boys. They were working on cars or doing something outside. They went in the backyard and supposedly saw 2 8 to 10 foot creatures.
Right.
Scared them really bad enough that they called 911 and had the police come out and investigate. And two police did come up and check it out because one of them had seen the thing in the sky. And so they thought it was really odd that these boys called, were like, we saw this in the sky, now these creatures are in our backyard and we're really scared and we don't understand. So there's not really a lot more information than that. One of the kids posted a video explaining his story in full, everything that happened and what he saw. There was supposedly a ring in the backyard. The only things that are a little bit odd about it is when George Knapp was doing his story, he said that 3 times they went to the family's house at the family's invitation to do an interview, but all 3 times the family didn't answer the door or answer their phones. So they never, even though the family's coming out saying things publicly online, they were not able to get a proper interview with them.
Well, they're not saying a whole lot online. So here's the thing. This happened May 1st.
Right.
And May 1st, now we're heading into the middle of June.
Right.
So they waited this long to put the story out, okay? The family in the middle of that have not really tried to profit on this or anything,
Right.
so in the last month and a half. And the boy came out to do a video now because of how this has went viral.
Right.
And in the time in between, they did contact Channel 8 to, hey, come out and you can interview us about this or whatever. And they went out there the 3 times and they didn't. But you got to think, those 3 times, that was before this hit and before any kind of thing went viral.
Right.
And the other part to it is they also said, the family that is, that there had been some black vehicles, some government plates going through the neighborhood, and so some of the weirdness to that is, did they get to the family, the first time, and then the second time that they called back to Channel 8 and they came back and said, hey, we're serious. I mean, nobody knows.
Right. Nobody knows. And they even said that 2 of the Las Vegas Police Department sergeants returned to ask more questions.
Yeah, a couple of days later.
Like a couple of days later, more police came, and then they also started seeing the black vehicles.
Right.
So that's a little weird too, and that's something that you hear around.
It is, and it's almost such a crazy story that I want to believe it, because if you're faking it, it looks like you could do better than this, because this has plot holes in it, like the crash that we hear, which I'm not sure the Ring camera stuff's real anyway, but let's just say it is. The crash that you hear does not, it doesn't go with the backyard, and their backyard's not a normal backyard. I don't know if they watched a place for someone who has all this equipment back there, but it's pretty large, and there is a circle, but I mean, there's, okay. It looks like there should be something crashed, like, but maybe that's a sound barrier thing. Maybe there's.
Well, I thought that maybe when it came in the atmosphere, it did like the sound.
Yeah.
Because the kid said it shook the ground a little bit, but that would happen if you got like a sonic boom
and he
kind
felt
of thing.
Completely strange. Maybe there's some kind of time phenomenon that we don't know.
And one of the boys said that when he looked in the backyard, everything looked blurry. And he said it wasn't my vision. Right. Everything just looked blurry, like I couldn't focus on it.
It's what he said. And he also said they heard whispers, like it was in there with them, and like and all
footsteps and stuff.
Total things that we've heard before, because it sounded very demonic. And, then you have these things that are captured on camera, not captured on camera. People are trying, and they'll keep trying. Maybe they'll get better with what they've got. Right. And there's apparently other footage that we've not seen. The other footage, because the boy shared some stuff we had not seen off the news broadcast. But there's security footage in the backyard, and the owner of the property has that. And apparently on that, something comes down and it goes out for like 3 minutes. Now, if we see something coming in hot, just a frame even, that's fantastic. That puts a whole different spin on this story.
Right.
If we see something for even a second, and so the story is compelling. The story is interesting, I should say, because it's taken so much. Like, okay, I see stories like this all the time, personally. Not on the news, I will say that, but, anybody into ufology, anybody into the paranormal and the weird, and especially if you look for weird news every week, you're going to see things that are like UFO landed and, caressed my cow or whatever. You're going to see that stuff. But I think this right now, it's prime. It's prime pickings for alien season.
It is. I think we're going to see more stuff like this.
Oh, yeah. I think right now.
And not all true.
Well, if you've noticed in the last couple of days, the stories that are coming out about the Las Vegas one, they're not being jokey about it. Like, I'm seeing news anchors that are being total news anchors. And it's like, so I think we're to the point. I really do. I think we're to the point right now, because of how much conversation there is, that if you hear that come across the wire, you're clamoring to do the story, to be the lead person on that story, because that's going to start the whole night. And the people that are putting this out, guess what's happening? Cha-ching. They're going viral.
Right.
So what local newscaster doesn't want to go viral?
Exactly. I like to watch the newscasters where you can tell it's messing with their heads.
Yeah.
You know, like they were the ones that probably joked about it all those years, and now they're having to do this serious story, and
Right.
it's like starting to sink in, and they're a little scared.
The only thing that sucks about it is people like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
We've been playing this kind of music
Right.
in our little corner bar for decades,
Right.
and now this manufactured like pop group of pretty people.
Now everybody's a fan.
Yeah,
And we were fans from the beginning.
right?
Dang it.
Right. So,
All right. Well, let's move on, shall we?
shall we?
Let's do a somewhat ghost story. Good old fashioned.
I love
story.
somewhat ghost.
Somewhat ghosts. Yeah. All right. So this is a story from
Getting better.
This is a story from Thailand. So this is about a former popular DJ. Now, sadly, he passed away in a room that he was renting. But the crazy part about the story is that when, like, he was pretty reclusive, people didn't really know what he was up to. And after some neighbors noticed a stench around his apartment,
right.
they had the police go in, and they estimated he had been dead for a few days in his room.
Okay.
But the police sort of searched his room after they took the body out, and it turns out that he left a diary.
Oh.
And in his diary, he spoke about how his room was haunted and he was being tormented every night by spirits.
Oh my God.
And in his diary, let's see, they put a little snippet here of it. It said, "There are ghosts in this room every night. The temple where I'm staying is powerful. I don't know if they want me to make some merits for them. They come to torment me, my karma. No one believes me when I tell them. They think I am ridiculous. I don't know what to do. I am extremely tormented. They are everywhere, day and night, interfering with everything. I will die a nervous wreck." And then that was the last entry in his diary. And then he passed away. Now, after reading that bit of the diary, another one of the police officers claimed that he was the third person to die in that room.
Oh my
God. The first person hung himself. The second person died of some sort of mysterious causes, unknown causes. And now, of course, this gentleman, where they just said he suffered from paranormal disturbances. It doesn't say exactly how he passed, like what the reason was, official reason was. So now they're wondering if this room is just super haunted and causing this, or if it's just a coincidence.
I want to go investigate that place.
So it's sort of a sad story, but a little interesting too about...
It's very interesting, and it's very sad.
It is sad. But I don't think that I would want to rent that room.
I want to rent it right now. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I would love to go investigate that place and just, torment the ghost.
Yeah.
Go in there with the mission of tormenting the ghost.
I mean, I suppose if, like, the very first person that died in the one that hung themselves, I wonder if they were also tormented and just didn't say anything. Or if they are now the spirit that's doing the tormenting.
No, I would say that it's probably... It might be more powerful than that. It sounds more powerful than that.
Right,
To be able to be that, active, it seems like it could be. And he said temple?
He worked at some sort of temple. He used to be like a DJ. He was
Sound
pretty
like
popular.
he was staying in a temple.
And he...
From the diary, it says, I don't know if this temple's very powerful. It's what I thought you said. It said at the very first.
he did say the temple where I'm staying is powerful.
Yes.
So, yes, I suppose.
So the temple, very powerful. More than likely, that's why.
Wow. Well, there you go. You figured it out.
Well, I listened.
Yes, you did.
13th Warrior, if you haven't seen it.
But really interesting, sad ghost story there.
Yeah, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
It's a way to cheer the room up.
Well, let's go on to a discovery then. How's
Okay.
that? All right. This story is about a mysterious species that buried their dead and carved symbols 100,000 years before humans. So they're saying researchers have uncovered evidence that members of a mysterious archaic human species buried their dead and carved symbols on cave walls long before the earliest evidence of burials by modern humans. Now, they believe that this particular ancient species was not advanced enough to do any kind of burial rites. That's why this is so surprising. They say the brains belonging to the extinct species known as Homo naledi
It's like, what do they have to do
We're around-
to be advanced?
We're-
You know?
Well, their brain was only 1/3 the size of the modern human brain.
Yeah, I got
So-
you. Maybe they used the whole thing and then they're exactly like us.
There you go. They claim that such behaviors only have been associated with larger-brained Homo sapiens and Neanderthals.
Yeah.
So the findings are detailed in some new studies, and they were studying an area called the Rising Star Cave System. And they spoke with paleoanthropologist and National Geographic explorer in residence, Dr. Lee Berger. And he calls his team the underground astronauts because they're going down into this cave system and all of its chambers to study this ancient race of humans that I guess supposedly lived down there or spent a lot of their times down there. Now, they found the burials in the cave walls, and they say that they have been deliberately, like, it's not a situation where people fell into the crevices and just died there.
Right.
Like, they found a lot of them that were purposefully dug a certain way, and the people were put in there in like a fetal position and then covered over with soil. And so they say that suggests intentional burials. And then while they were studying the burials, they started finding cave etchings, things like hashtags, like cross hashtags, and other geometric shapes.
Hashtag.
Yeah, they were trending way before humans.
Wow.
Weren't they? And they claim that these are also a lot older.
Like
Like
cave, like hashtag.
tons of hashtags.
Hashtag Bronto Burgers tonight.
They say that early Homo sapiens 80,000 years ago did cave etchings, but these are supposedly 241 to 335,000 years old. So way older than
Yeah.
anything that they found. Now, this supposed cave system, the Rising Star Cave System, they claim it's not for the faint of heart, that the teams mapped over 2.5 miles of caves so far. They are at 328 feet and expand for more than 656 feet. But there's a lot of places where you can barely get through. In fact, Dr. Berger said he had to lose 55 pounds just to get through this one section because it's so skinny that you have to crawl
Dr. Salad now.
on your stomach. It's literally only 9.8 inches wide, and you have to crawl on your stomach. And he said it's really harrowing.
Wait a second. Mm-hmm. It's 9.8 inches wide.
Yes, across.
Okay.
And it's 131 feet long, 9.8 inches across. And the researchers had to
Do I need to remind you how much that is?
Yeah, it's not much.
Okay.
And they have to belly crawl their way through.
Right.
That's why he had to lose so much weight.
Well, depending on the subject, it's not much.
That's true. Well, they claimed that this particular species, Homo naledi, they were much smaller species.
No crap.
Yeah, than humans. Like, they walked upright, but their bodies
Hobbits.
were a lot skinnier,
Yeah.
and their heads were smaller. 'cause of
Hashtag
the
Shire.
Smaller brain. But you know, it's really a cool
Hashtag
find.
Bilbo was right.
And I just love that they had to point out that, you know, it's not like the body died in a hole. You know, like, it's not
Right.
like people just fell in there and died. They can tell that it's been placed deliberately before the flesh was gone and covered over. So very cool. Again, rewriting history of stuff we thought we knew.
Yeah.
getting
I
older.
mean, the deeper they go, man, it's more interesting. And God only knows. Well, I say it all the time. What's under our feet is way more interesting than what's above our heads. I promise you.
Oh, I'm sure. Speaking of deep, China is drilling a mysteriously deep borehole.
Oh, yeah?
They started digging
Oh,
a mysterious
God.
10,000 meter deep hole.
We got to stop them. You know what they're trying to do?
What are they trying to do?
Pop up in Arizona.
In Albuquerque?
Yeah. Take a left turn. I mean, isn't that the thing? You dig a hole to China?
Yeah, that's what they always told you when you were a kid.
They're like,
You dig,
oh,
dig, dig.
you hear this on Bugs Bunny, you know?
According to China's state-run news
We do a
agency,
secret invasion.
the work is underway to dig an 11,100 meter borehole in the Taklamakan Desert in northwest China. They said that's the equivalent of more than 33 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of each other. So it's a really deep hole. Now, it's not, I don't really understand why they're doing it to study, I guess, but it's not the deepest hole that's ever been dug. There's like two other boreholes that are a lot deeper than that. But they're hoping that the hole will significantly improve their understanding of deep Earth geology. But it also says they won't even reach the mantle. Like I guess they're going to study that particular area, but I don't know. Like, it's not like they're doing the deepest one ever, or they're going to get to these layers they've never been to before.
Maybe there's something more to it.
There must be.
Maybe they found some stuff. I mean, China is like super secret about stuff.
I mean, I don't know. I trust China's state-run news agency, don't you?
Absolutely. Does that check here yet? No, I mean, they've got pyramids. They've got, I mean, dude, there's a lot of stuff over there that you just don't see a whole lot about because they're a little bit hard to get into.
Right.
You know.
I don't know. They said it's expected to take 450 days approximately.
Yeah.
And supposedly it'll go down so far, it'll go back to the Cretaceous system, like 145 million years ago. That's how far down I guess they're trying to get.
Super interesting.
Yeah. Well, it'd be more interesting to see what they pull out of there. What kind of viruses and such come out of that ancient hole.
Well, I'm sure that we won't know until we've got it. So
this is very true.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go on to another really cool discovery about crocodiles.
So I looked again because I was like, in my head, I wonder what time it is. And it was 11:11 last time, 1:11 this time.
Now it's 1:11 now. It's a message. Somebody's trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
All right. So this is about a crocodile.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
At the Costa Rican Zoo that has been living in isolation for 16 years.
Aww.
Female crocodile. Apparently, she has experienced virgin birth.
Wait, what?
This is the first known instance of a crocodile virgin birth. Now, supposedly in 2018, the reptile laid a clutch of eggs, which is a common practice among captive reptiles, even those without mates. But after 3 months of incubation...
I don't need no damn man.
One egg contained a fully formed, stillborn baby crocodile. Crocodile Jesus.
Wow.
You could say. And the study noted that the scientists examined the crocodile fetus's genetic makeup, and they discovered DNA sequences in the fetus that resulted from reproduction without the help of a male crocodile.
Sounds like it's ready to make a Disney Star Wars movie.
Now, this isn't the first time that there has been a virgin birth. It's known as parthenogenesis, a birth without fertilization. They've seen it in fish, birds, lizards, and snakes. However, it's the first time it's ever been seen with a crocodile. And they use the quote, from Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Yeah.
Because that's supposedly...
Well, to be fair, it's hard to really play around with a crocodile long enough to find out,
So, interesting study, and they're going to re-examine reproduction in crocodiles and other related animals, because now they can kind of associate that with, dinosaurs and birds and all these different things. I don't know, very interesting.
Yeah, well, hopefully the word don't get out. There's going to be a lot of male crocodiles going, I never even saw the chick before. I mean, didn't you hear about what happened down south? I'm telling you, man. It's possible.
All right, so let's go on to our next story.
Okay.
All right, so this is about a very strange thing that was caught on security cam footage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is about scantily clad, quote, witches caught munching on a deer carcass in some bizarre security cam footage. All right, so
I bet they're still hot.
This is from Canada.
Yeah.
Now, a nurse and nature lover in Canada reportedly captured footage of what she says appeared to be two witches holding a carcass eating ritual. Now, what happened was she came across a deer carcass in a garden on her property. And so she set up a camera to kind of surveil any animals that might take interest in the dead deer. And this was for her and her grandfather. And they just wanted to see what came around, I guess, to eat the deer, which I think is a little weird anyway, but whatever. So when she came back the next day, she asked her grandfather if he looked at the footage, and he said, yeah, I caught some naked people. And she was like, no, you didn't. And so he showed her the footage, and what you see are two people that approach the deer, and they bend over it, and they're not really eating it. I mean, it looks kind of like one of them put the hoof up to their mouth or something. No idea what they're doing. I didn't see the actual video. You just see pictures in the article. But it was actually very, very strange. Now, the two people, if you look very closely at the video, one's a guy, one's a girl. It looks like they're wearing wigs. The girl is basically naked. She's wearing like a little loincloth kind of thong sort of thing. And the gentleman has pants and shoes on, but no shirt. They look like they're wearing black wigs and no idea what they're doing. Absolutely no idea.
Where is this at?
This is in Canada. And they just went, I mean, it was like on their property. And sometime in the middle of the night, they just sort of approached this dead deer carcass and
Are we sure that it's
bent over it.
actual people?
I mean, they look like people, but I don't know. You can't really see their faces because they have the weird wigs on. The only reason I say wigs is 'cause it looks like long black hair, but in one picture, the black hair split and it looks like there's like curly blonde hair underneath.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird.
So maybe it's Nordic aliens trying to put on disguises.
Maybe. I feel like Nordic aliens would be. I hear they're really beautiful.
Yeah.
And these two people
Okay.
did not look
Right.
svelte enough for that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Now, some people say this could just be a big hoax.
Right.
Maybe it is. You never know.
Sounds like a dirty joke.
But-
Grandfather.
a lot of the story doesn't make sense. Like, do people put up cameras to watch dead carcasses? I mean, she was like, we caught a bobcat. That was pretty cool. Like, did they just want to see animals come and devour this thing? I don't.
It's Canada.
Nature watching, sort of.
I mean-
maybe it's a hobby.
There's not a lot to do in some places.
I guess. I'm just curious what these two people, like, they didn't call the police. They didn't want to press any charges. They're like, they didn't do anything illegal. It was just
I'm sure the
really,
second night the grandfather was out there naked, waiting,
really weird.
laying on the grass where the deer had been.
With a deer costume on.
Yeah. It's just,
I'm a dead deer. Come eat my hoof.
it's a strange looking hoof. Tired looking hoof.
I don't know. I guess she speculated that they were either.
Oh, it's alive now. All I did was stick it up to my face. I believe it's infected, though.
They were either on some really good drugs, or maybe they were Satan worshipers. People throw this Satan worshiper thing out there way
Yeah,
too much. I
they
think.
always have.
Like, if you're out at night doing anything a little bit unusual, you're Satan worshiper.
It's like the Slapped Ham YouTube channel and Poltergeist.
Oh my gosh.
Some people believe that it could have been a poltergeist. A poltergeist in mythology, like it's like
Or a
it's,
chupacabra.
Yeah, it's not.
Everything's a
It's
chupacabra.
not a poltergeist, pal.
It's like, it's not a chupacabra. That's like the house cat from down the street with a little bit of mange, okay?
Yeah,
It's not
which
a
is
chupacabra.
arguably scarier than a chupacabra.
But yeah, very interesting story.
Yeah, okay. It'd be more interesting with the video.
It would. The pictures are kind of cool, though. You can look at the pictures.
We should make some witch porn.
Witch porn. Yeah, I bet there is some. Have you ever looked?
Well, I mean, like the witch gets stuck in the tree, or
Is that... Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
help me, Warlock. Help me, brother Warlock. I'm stuck.
So instead of the pizza delivery guy or the cable guy, it's like I've come to regulate
No.
your cauldron.
I think my witch porn would be like witch hunters.
Oh, I see.
And
And
really-
they're trying to get away out of, please don't kill me.
Really hot buxom witch, and like it's kind of half comedy because they're only like picking the hot chicks in town. And they got them. It's like, no, we're gonna keep them in the dungeon. And there's like one real witch. She's got warts all over and everything, and she's like 500 pounds. And some of the town children are like, Broomhilda's a witch. Oh no.
She eats our friends. No, we don't think she's a witch. She's a nice old lady.
It's kids, lying kids.
No, young Miss Featherfather over here. No, she's a witch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the witchiest witch I ever seen.
It's a terrible name, though. I'm not good at coming up with names, apparently. On the top
Doesn't
of my
matter what her
head.
name is. She's a witch. That should be a film if it's not.
Is she wearing a super short skirt? She's a witch.
She's a witch. Yeah, that'd be good. I'm with it.
I think once your boobs get to a certain size,
You're a
you're
witch. Yeah. When you go past a certain size, you're no longer a witch. So, which witch is which?
a witch scale.
Oh my God, you gonna be all right.
Sorry, go
We'll
ahead.
test your witchness here in a minute.
All right.
Okay, unless something else insane happens, we'll see you guys again next week. For my lovely wife Stacey, who is a witch, I can confirm. I'm John. So long from the sideshow.
Good night.